And first of all, I want to find out what is winding up David Mitchell.
Yes, it's people who get annoyed when you don't remember them. I would like them to go in the room.
OK.
Whoever the hell they are.
That was beautiful. Started like rain on a roof, but then...
Yeah, it grew on them. Look, I'm not saying it's good to not remember someone who you've met before. And if you don't remember someone, obviously you should try and conceal it. I accept that. You know, if you can't remember someone's name or you're not sure whether you've met them at all or whatever, just, you know, nod and smile, say nice to see you. Don't make it obvious. You know, it's out there that you've met this person before and you haven't remembered them. Now, I've not been remembered by people, and I've never made a thing of it. I don't think there's any point in making a thing of it because something has happened somewhere deep in the workings of someone's brain. And there's nothing to be done about it. The remembering has not happened. In fact, the person who's angry that I haven't remembered them, I've only got their word for it that I've met them at all. But, you know, nevertheless, I do believe them because I am quite a thoughtless, forgetful person. But why get angry with something that my brain has unconsciously failed to do? What am I supposed to do about it? Go back in time to the moment when I supposedly met this person and then sort of do some homework afterwards, revise the people I bumped into at that party so that when I meet them next time, I'll go, oh, yes, hello, Steve, or whatever. No, that's not workable. Leave me alone. It's like shouting at children for not being clever enough. There's no point in getting annoyed. There's no point in saying, I wish your brain was structured in a kinder, more caring way. That's just not the way social interaction between humans works. We don't address head-on the issue of whether a person is more or less nice. So I say, if someone doesn't remember you, live with it, be bitter inside, don't get outwardly annoyed.
I took my mother-in-law to A&E a couple of weeks ago, and a nurse was dealing with me, and this porter said, he's off the telly. And she said, oh, is it really? And she was staring at me. It's a bit embarrassing. And then she said, what's your name? I'll Google you.
Oh, God.
So I gave her my name and waited. And she said, do you host Room 101? And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, that's one of my favourite programmes. How are you with names, Judy?
I've become quite good at pretending I remember people and I just say hi there. I was in Blackpool a couple of years ago with Sunetra Sarkar, who's an actress on Casualty, and this woman was coming towards us and she stopped rigid in front of us and she said, I know you. And luckily she wasn't pointing at me, she was pointing at Sunetra and she goes, do you remember me? And she was quite aggressive and Sunetra says, no, I'm terribly sorry, I don't. And the woman said, I know where I know you from, prison.
And was there a little bit of doubt in your mind?
No, we just ran away.
I was doing a book signing and a woman came up, my family was there, and the woman came up to me and said, I don't know if you remember me, we had a one-night stand in 1997.
See, that's polite.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely said thank you.
But, you know, she's saying, I won't speculate as to whether it's accurate or not, but she's saying you've had sex. But even so, she's polite enough to think that maybe you've forgotten the encounter. Help you remember. I think that's extremely well-mannered.
And she's attached a year to it as well, so she's given me some... I'm able to narrow it down.
Yeah.
It's like Google Earth. I've just closed it in just a little bit.
I'm with you. Well, why get offended by it? If it was me, I'd feel bad that you didn't remember me rather than feeling annoyed that you didn't remember me.
Yeah, I mean, there's an onus on a person to be at least slightly memorable.
Yeah.
Is that something? Don't get angry at me that you're so forgettable. Get angry at your personality and the world. It's not my fault.
Sometimes you remember people for being horrible.
Yes,
Mary
everyone
Vale.
remembered Hitler's name.
Yeah? Yeah. Just the surname you've got, but...
Yeah. Just call him Herr Hitler. Don't let on that you can't remember his first name.
Here's an aide de memoire that a wife put together for her husband. This is a sign that she left on the door so he didn't forget his lunch.
What I find regrettable there is she obviously has decided her husband is just obsessed with breasts and vaginas, and yet she's
Hold on,
still...
where's the vagina?
Well, because
That's an
the
arrow. That's a downward arrow.
Oh, I see. I assume... What I was thinking is she was thinking that he would look first at the breast and then downwards towards the groin. There you go. There's no point in hiding it now. It has been televised.
What's upsetting David Mitchell?
Sugar lumps. You take a commodity that people want to decide how much they want, and you congeal it in such a way as to prescribe a minimum dose. You don't get that with ketchup. You can put as much ketchup on or as little as you like. You don't have to put a minimum of that sized clod of it. Sugar exists as a powder in a granulated form. Why turn it into lumps? What are you doing? You're only limiting its usage. You're not extending its usage. So, there you go. Sugar lumps. Why do they exist? Stop doing it. Stop congealing sugar into lumps.
I don't know why it exists, actually.
And do you know what? Well, one argument you could make. Let me play devil's advocate, and I mean devils. They're devils. These is you could say, well, it's a useful way to take, you know, an amount of sugar, you know, that you can then hold it, such as a sugar sachet. And obviously, a sugar sachet that involves paper. That's worse for the environment. However, there exists, and I have seen this, and the people who make these are the real satans of the world. Sugar lumps in sachets. A lump of sugar in a little plastic. Why is that allowed to exist? What's the point of that? The only defence for the lump, the sugar lump that allows bowls of sugar in cafes to get dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and people have, oh, I'll have that one, oh, that's a bit of a wonky one, you know, this disgusting thing. The only defence is a certain level of convenience, and then someone decides, well, actually, let's take the sachet that also provides that level of convenience and put a lump in it. And these aren't sugar sachets that have been left in the wet or something. This is a deliberately formed sugar lump put in a sachet. Can you imagine anything more diabolical? Just
I think with sugar lumps, probably every sugar lump in a bowl in a cafe has been handled by at least 60 to 100 toddlers.
Yeah, you're preaching to the converted. But what I'm saying is, if you've decided, OK, sugar lumps are disgusting, let's put sugar in sachets to limit small amounts of it, why? Why? Render the sugar into a lump before you put it in a sachet. Why?
Because then the toddler germs won't get on the sugar lump you want to use.
But you don't need... The unlumpen sugar has the same sweetening effect. You don't need to turn it into a lump. You can just put it in a sachet. The toddlers can't touch it. You can have half of it if you don't want the whole thing. Everyone wins.
How do they stick it together, the lump?
God knows. I've heard they get Chinese children to cry.
But you need sugar lumps to be able to feed sugar to horses.
Well, you may have hit upon the only use for the sugar lump. But firstly, the instances of equine diabetes are... and secondly, I'm sure we could design some sort of spoon for feeding sugar to horses.
Or a tube. We know they can blow out. They can probably...
Yeah, a sort of tube... You could give the horse a kind of sugar...
We don't want horses snorting sugar.
Because the other argument you could make in favour of the sugar lump, but you wouldn't unless you know, came from hell. Another argument you could make is that it saves on, you know, washing a piece of cutlery, because you don't need a spoon. You can just plop it in. You still need the spoon to stir, but you shouldn't use the same spoon to spoon sugar in as to stir. That makes you a monster.
Don't you have those little tongs, though?
Oh, yeah.
The days of those tongs are gone.
No, no.
Hardly any of those.
Not in Dunblane.
Really? The last bastion of the sugar tongs. If you're saying the only way to make the lumps hygienic is to use tongs, then you're not saving on cutlery at all. That got you.
But, as you pointed out, tongs are on the way out, and I, for one, would like to save the tong. I've got, in my house, I have sugar tongs. I have a coal fire with tongs. Any excuse to use tongs. I run a small men's clinic. I would be sad to see the end of the tong. And if you get rid of sugar lumps, that's going to be a major blow to the tong industry.
You're gonna keep the sugar lump to save the tongs.
Yeah.
This is madness.
My mum, every time she made a cup of tea, she put 2 spoons of sugar in it. And if we had visitors, she'd give them the tea and say, do you take sugar? And if they said no, she'd say, don't stir it. I swear to you, I didn't make that up. OK, so, this is tough, because I think you're so right about all this. I would only say there are inane road signs, but when I'm driving on my own, I'm just glad of something to read. So I'm going to keep that in. The sugar lump, I can say, as a champion of the tong, I just can't let... Because there's nothing left.
The tongs are no good to you if the sugar lump's in a sachet. Unless you have tiny little sachet scissors.
OK, so what's upsetting Jimmy?
Tax loopholes, Frank. So this isn't tax evasion, this is tax avoidance. So it's following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law, and leaving it up to us to decide how much we pay. And I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. No, I don't know all the detail. I think that's been reported on. It's like one law for rich people and one law for everyone else. It doesn't seem fair, and it seems to me they should make the law much clearer and much simpler to follow, and it would be better for everyone. I should probably mention I'm a recent convert to this view. I'm not sure if you're aware, but in 2012 I had a 50% pay cut. And this is when you know you've got a tax problem. If anyone's ever had a letter through from HMRC, don't worry about that. Pop that in the recycling. They will send another letter. They're very good like that. If, on the other hand, if the Prime Minister of the country that you live in breaks off from the G20 summit in Mexico and he comes out early to do a press conference where he talks about nothing other than your personal tax affairs, that is going to be a problem. And I know, because that is what happened to this guy.
Shall we go for a little walk down memory lane and relive that?
Oh, I can't imagine any problem with that, psychologically.
This is the then Prime Minister, David Cameron.
Some of these schemes where people are parking huge amounts of money offshore and taking loans back to just minimise their tax rates, it is not morally acceptable. And I put it like this. You know, think of all those people who work hard, who pay their taxes, and out of that post-tax income save up to go and see Jimmy Carr. He's taking that money and stuffing it into something where he doesn't have to pay taxes. That is not fair. That is not right.
He's got a point.
How much are your tickets that people have to save up?
They're expensive. They're significantly more now than they were. But I think that thing of like... The other reason I wanted to put this in was because I kind of thought, obviously, like, the Paradise Papers then came out more recently, and the perception is everyone's doing this. I mean, the Queen.
I know. Unforgivable.
I mean, but she's on money. If she wants more money, she's just got to photocopy her face. It's weird as well, the sort of, you know, that thing of, like, you know, David Cameron, much as that's his job to do that, and I absolutely respect that, but the fact that, you know, it's a large offshore trust in his family name that pays no tax. You go, well, there's always going to be a level of kind of hypocrisy in this.
Yeah.
Was there a little bit of you that was quite excited when he named you on the telly, though?
It's nice to be on the news, because
Exactly.
it rates.
Because it rates.
Yeah.
There are worse
You see my
ways.
new show? It's called The News. Good.
I'm featured a lot on it lately.
I don't know why there isn't a law. People, like, when I've spoken to accountants, I've spoken to a lot of people about this, I've become something of an expert by accident. And I sort of think it should be really simple. And I sort of really simplified my life afterwards and went, oh, why have I got a limited company? It's mental. Why have I got that? Just get the money, pay the tax, and then fine. Obviously, I should have done that earlier, but...
Yeah, well,
it's a mea culpa. I did a bad thing and I've, you know... Although I didn't kill anyone, because there's a very clear law on that.
No grey area.
If they had
there.
the same law on murder, I'd have killed loads of people. If they said, well, we leave it up to you, decide what you think is morally right. No, that's your job.
I always thought, at the time, I thought Ken Dodd must have been gutted because he was the go-to tax dodger comedian for 30 years.
You heard what Ken Dodd said, right? I mean, he was on trial in Liverpool. He was in court in Liverpool, and they said to him, why didn't you pay any tax? And he said, well, it's the inland revenue, and I live by the sea. I mean, he's a genius.
Are you going to do a Ken Dodd quote for every topic tonight?
Please.
He's the absolute master.
It's quite an achievement.
The reason for putting this in there, they could close all of those loopholes tomorrow. They could just say, we're not doing any of that. We're not doing any of that. If you earn money, you pay 40% on it, and that's it. That's the law.
This is a bit like a burglar coming on the show and trying to put in windows. I mean, they're there, but you don't have to climb through them.
No, but I mean, that's the thing. If you leave it up to people's morality, you've got to understand there's quite a lot of people like me that have got a morality that's flexible. I mean, you know how much tax I saved?
No.
None.
Is that because you paid it all back?
Yeah. But I think there's a weird thing that people still think maybe you got away with something. No, you didn't get away with anything at all. It's an interesting thing that you go, it's almost like I think the government loaned me some money for a bit at quite a high interest rate. That's the way I see it. Very good of them.
I'm sorry to hear you've paid it all back because there's a pothole by where I live and every time I drive through it, I say to my partner, thank you, Jimmy Carr. And now I can't do it anymore. But I think Jimmy is right. If there were no tax loopholes, then slimy characters like Jimmy wouldn't be exploiting them.
100% right.
I'm going to put tax loopholes into Room 101.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Right.
Right then, to Jimmy.
Other people's opinions. Right. What specifically, this is about sort of 24-hour news and their propensity with the vox pop, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'll tell you what I like, experts. I think it was Michael Gove said, I think people are tired of experts. No, I'll tell you what I'm tired of, Michael Gove. I like an expert. I like watching the news and they've got some economist on there or they've got a doctor talking about something and you go, oh, right, I didn't know that. That's brilliant. And they're very rarely outside of Greg's at 4. They're not.
I know what you mean. I heard a radio phone-in about crime in the UK just a couple of days ago. And I think if the contributors, instead of speaking, had whistled, it wouldn't have in any way lessened the content of the show.
I quite like vox pops when like some shows when they have if they've got a morning show and it's a bit of fun and they go, who should be the next James Bond? Great question in the high street. Should they bring back salad cream? I'm fine with that. But as soon as they go, you know, what do you think about Brexit? I go, it's too important. Tell us what happened, give us the facts on the news. It shouldn't be an opinion show, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I realise that applause there suggests that this audience agree with me, but that is only their opinion, so I don't care.
I think it is quite helpful, though, to constantly remind yourself of how little people know about politics, for example. Otherwise, you're likely to trust them with a really significant, life-changing referendum.
Yeah.
Can I show you? This is an MP, an Australian MP, who presumably is the sort of person you think should be interviewed about that. And they're asking him about same-sex marriage. So, you know, he's working in a legislative assembly, so he's the man to speak to.
You know, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities. You know, I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. You know, but I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
What?
Well, sometimes it's nice to hear from more than one personality within an interview.
This is not strictly speaking a vox pop, but it is an interview with a member of the public because she's 110, and we all want to know what it feels like to be 110. And I think this woman illustrates it better than most.
Later today, Flossie's family is going to be coming out here to throw you a big birthday party. Are you excited for your party?
Not one bit.
I love that woman.
Is she Scottish? Not one bit excited.
We should point out, we're not saying, A, the public is stupid. We're saying we don't know about stuff. I don't know about loads. I was asked, this is a genuine thing, I was on the South Bank in London, and there was a group from a university, and it was the Darwin centenary anniversary of some kind, and they asked me my views on evolution. So I said, well, if we came from chimpanzees, how come there are still chimpanzees knocking around? What are they, like developers? And I said to them, are they like when you get popcorn that hasn't popped? And the bloke looked upset, not just like disappointed in me, but why ask me something like that?
Yeah.
Ask a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the point that I made?
Yeah.
I feel we're in agreement on this.
Winds up Barb about people.
I'd like to apply for entry for people, named shop assistants, who give you the receipt on the bottom and then put the money on top of the receipt. When you're doing the cash till ballet and doing everything,
yes,
and you're left with a wallet in one hand and really nowhere to go from there, but a world of frustration.
That is annoying, I must say.
No, it's not. I've lost faith in it very suddenly. But
But I have to agree, I find that really frustrating. When they hand you that and you end up with this bundle of coins wrapped in the receipt in your pocket because your wallet...
yes, that's all you can do, Brendan. You just have to crush it.
Crush it and bear. Crush it and bear.
Because you've done the crush and in your pocket, because your wallet's in the other hand,
yeah,
you can't then just dispose of it in the bin outside because you'd be throwing all your cash in as well.
So you got to unwrap it.
You got to unwrap it, yeah, and, you know, like, it's...
Life is so hard. I'm a bit OCD about shopping. You see, there's a certain way that the groceries go into the cupboards. So because they go in a particular way, they should be packed in the bags in a particular way. Boy Scouts, God love them, I'm sure they're well-meaning, but they often pack bags. And I'm there sweating and crying. I want to go, hey, there's a tenner, please, go away. They put, the bread doesn't go in with the bleach.
Also that thing when someone's forgot something and they're allowed to go and shop again. I was there with one woman who said, oh, I meant to get gravy granules. Well, you can live a life full of regret or you can move on. But the woman said, she said, can I just... The woman said, yes. Yes. So she went off to get the gravy. I'm waiting, you know, infuriated. She came back, she got Ryvita as well.
That is awful.
I would not have had the gall to come back with an extra thing.
Yeah. Mind you wouldn't eat a Ryvita without gravy, Grandad.
This is, I think, the best ever thing I've ever seen in a supermarket. Get a load of this. See what it says there? It's a genuine...
Is that for teachers?
Back to school. OK, then. What does Bob hate about modern life?
Whoa. One aspect of modern life that I don't enjoy is this craze now of wrapping your food in bacon before you cook it, with your fishes and your meats. I've just got a feeling it's one of these celebrity chef things, and it's been sold on the basis that it seals in the flavour. And I don't think it does do that. It just collapses and leaks out its saltiness. I don't actually believe that they're flavours that work. I think it's like it's one of these pretentious things.
I think say with pigs in a blanket, you know, when they wrap it around sausage, I think it's to stop the sausage splitting, isn't it? It sort of operates like a hernia belt.
Well, I think you're giving bacon a kind of super strength there that it doesn't have, as if it can grip the sausage.
I have to tell you, one of the treats that we've always had for Christmas, we have every Christmas morning, and all the kids come around and Jen cooks it up, is fried Christmas pudding with bacon. Really, try it. Honest to God, it's something else. It really is something else, and you can drink like a fish after it.
You know that? Do you remember those little bits? You don't see them so much now, like little bits of white gristle that you get in bacon. They look almost like little bits of white plastic.
Like a little bit of bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through it. I use those to create the windows on the pork aeroplanes. I like to know. I don't think you're fully appreciating the versatility of bacon and indeed pork in general.
I've never flown pork.
I have used it. This is a fact. I was frying sausages and eggs in the same thing, and I didn't have one of those things that you pick the eggs up with. I had a knife, so I got under the egg just to loosen it, but I couldn't pick it up. So I used one of the rashers of bacon as a sort of a stretcher to carry the egg to the plate.
I have no objection to using bacon as a stretcher. I'm fine with that.
I've used it as a utensil. I have eaten baked beans with bacon. Use it like that.
And you could use it as a bookmark, like a savoury bookmark. But please, not wrapping it.
But at least it tastes good, because the food fad I really hate is when they put foam on stuff.
Right.
Foam? Foam. That's like a fad that I don't get at all. They just have foam. It just looks like someone spat on your food. Maybe that's what they've done.
I think you should stop eating in Carol Vorderman's restaurant. It's the wild card round. Now, this means that you don't have any restraints of category. You can just choose anything at all that you don't like. So what is Bob's wild card?
It's unripe fruit in supermarkets.
Ah.
You know, I find myself... Thank you. I just find myself... I mean, particularly the melon, the nectarine, the peach, the pear and the apricot. It's impossible to get one ready to eat, and on the odd occasion you can, it's packaged as actually ready to eat, and they charge you more for it. And it's very frustrating, and it just adds to the nation's fruit bowls just rotting away, attracting fruit flies, and then being disposed of. Because it's long past your desire to have a slice of melon.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I remember when I was young, it was a Friday treat to get, like, a yellow honeydew melon, and we'd gather round it, like this beautiful yellow orb, ready to enjoy it. But now, these unripe melons that you buy from supermarkets, they taste like turnips. So I'm imagining a whole generation, you know, being put off melons by it.
It's probably one of the biggest impulse buys as well. I mean, you buy a banana when you fancy a banana. Not you buy a banana 2 weeks before you fancy it. In case you fancy a banana.
Bananas are quite speedy, aren't they? They can ripen up.
They can.
As can a tomato, Brendan.
But unfortunately, not a lemon.
Not...
There's a fruit store at the bottom of my road, and I see them throw away overripe fruit. So there's only a very short window of edibility before they become overripe.
Yeah, but we used to be able to cope with that.
Well, what used to happen, of course, is we had stocks where people used to get put in. You'd think in the age of recycling, bring those back. I feel a bit sorry for greengrocers because they lose probably 40% of their stock every week in car chases. The odd thing about this is they do very different stuff with, let's say, bread in supermarkets, where they put the freshest bread at the back of the tray and the old stuff at the front to make you buy the old stuff. Luckily, they had a similar policy at the dating agency my girlfriend went to.